I'm Harrison Graham from Chat Sports, and we got a loaded Chiefs report coming up today. Brandon Aiyuk has requested a trade. Could Kansas City show interest? We'll dive into that. Patrick Mahomes speaks at training camp as the boys are out in St. Joseph getting ready for the 2024 season, and Kansas City has made a roster addition. All that and more coming up here on today's show. And if you guys want to weigh in on what the Chiefs should be doing, if you have any questions, we got a mailbag coming up, so got any questions you want answered, use hashtag Chiefs in the comment section and ask your questions right now. Best ones get on the show, so if you have any good trade ideas or free agency questions, training camp, whatever it is, hashtag Chiefs, ask away. Producer Joey is going to find the best ones, and we'll answer them on a mailbag coming up this weekend. All right, let's start with Brandon Aiyuk. The second-team All-Pro wide receiver has requested a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. Mike Garafolo had the note on Tuesday here saying that despite a recent meeting, the Niners haven't been willing to engage in negotiations since May, so Aiyuk has respectfully asked out. And if you've watched this situation play out at all, I mean, we'll get to some of the antics in a minute, but from Aiyuk's standpoint, it has been a little bit hectic. But listen, the kid's young, he's talented, he's very, very good. He's currently slated to make about $15 million on his fifth-year option with the 49ers, which he's clearly outplayed that number over the past 2 years, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, over 1,300 yards last year with San Francisco, big weapon as well in terms of big playability, 17.9 yards per catch last year, a career high by over 3 yards per catch. Like, this guy is a big-time player. There's no doubt about it. Let's just talk about what I think a trade could look like and probably what I'd be willing to offer. Second and a fifth-round pick is probably what I'm looking at. Now, if you're San Francisco, you definitely want a first, especially if you're going to trade him to Kansas City. So I don't think this would get it done. Like, I don't think San Francisco's pivoting off Aiyuk for a second and a fifth-round pick, especially to the one team that they can't beat in the big game, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. I kind of look at this like I don't think the Chiefs could get him almost no matter what, just because the Niners are like, all right, even if we have to trade him, we're not trading him to the one team that has our number. But this is probably what I would offer, and I'll explain in a little bit why I wouldn't offer more, just given the Chiefs' recent history. But I want to hear from you guys first. If you were Brett Veach, would you try to trade for Brandon Aiyuk? Type T for trade or P for pass. I'm not completely against it, but it's a tough one, and again, I'll explain why in a minute. I want to hear from you guys first, though. Pin comment on today's show, T for trade or P for pass. You look at the Chiefs' current cap space, $15.4 million. So they could make this work. They could absorb Aiyuk and give him an extension if they wanted to, and kind of backload it after this year, whereas his 2024 cap hit number would actually go down probably, and then the cap hit starts to rise after the season. They can make it work. You look at some of the recent wide receiver deals, Amon-Ra St. Brown getting just under $30 million per year. Justin Jefferson, of course, breaking the bank. I don't think Aiyuk's going to get in that range of $35 million. Aiyuk probably wants something in between. If St. Brown got 28 and Jetta got 35, he's probably saying, hey, I need at least 30. I want 31. He probably looks at A.J. Brown, who got $32 million per year. When you look at the per year numbers among some of these top receivers, he definitely wants more than Jalen Waddle. He definitely wants more than Amon-Ra St. Brown, actually $30 million, misspoke there. But, I think he wants to be in that top four at least. And is he a top four receiver? No, but that's kind of how this works. If you're top 6, 8, 10 at your position and you're due for a new deal, you may not always reset the market like Justin Jefferson, but you're going to leapfrog guys that might be better than you, like Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp, for example. Like I think they're probably both better than Aiyuk, but I understand why he would want more because that's what the market dictates. When those guys are up for a new deal, maybe different because Adams is a little older, they're going to want to get a jump in pay raise as well. That's just how this business works. And look, do I think Aiyuk wants to leave San Francisco? Not really. I think he knows, hey, I'm on a winning team. I'm living out in the Bay, which is, a comfortable place for a lot of these athletes to live in. I can make a lot of money playing for this team, but that is the key part. He wants to make as much money as possible, and if he feels like they're lowballing him, he's going to throw a trade request out there. It's kind of the modern playbook from these athletes and these agents. Now, Adam Schefter had this note that other teams have reached out and spoken to the 49ers and have been told that they have no intention of trading Aiyuk, who has officially requested a trade. Training camp opens next week. So we'll see. And the Niners have been down this road before. Nick Bosa didn't get extended till September last year. Fred Warner was the same. It was kind of a last-minute deal before the season. So, they're comfortable dragging this out. Whether or not Aiyuk plays ball, we'll have to wait and see. But you look at his offseason antics to try and kind of leverage himself into this big contract from the 49ers. Well, for one of his friends said that earlier this offseason that he's going to play for the Raiders, which is interesting. And if you guys follow Pretty Ricky on Twitter, he actually just tweeted out that the Raiders are interested, so that's fascinating. His girlfriend on social media hinted that his Niners days could be over. That feels very similar to the Deebo Samuel situation a couple years ago. He tweeted directly at Mike Tomlin, which is very weird for a current player on a current team to tweet at a head coach on a different team. He said on TikTok that the 49ers don't want him back. And then he name-dropped Washington and Pittsburgh as teams that he would like to play for on a podcast. Oh, and I'll add a bonus one here. I can't remember if it was on Instagram stories or Twitter, but he posted I can't remember if it was a video or just a photo of Commanders OTA practice. Like, he's been doing all kinds of stuff this offseason to kind of make it clear, I don't want to play for $15 million, and I also don't want to take the offer you guys have on the table. So it's getting a little contentious between those two parties, but these things happen. And again, from a Chiefs standpoint, I don't see it for a couple of reasons. I already mentioned the one where if you're San Francisco, even if it gets to the point where you have no choice but to trade Brandon Aiyuk, you're not going to trade him to the one team you're chasing unless you're blown away with an offer. Like, you'd have to be give me 2 first-round picks, and the Chiefs aren't going to do that. And why are they not going to do that, Harrison? Well, I saw Brett Veach 2 years ago trade the best wide receiver in football because he didn't want to pay him $30 million in Tyreek Hill, and then they went on to win 2 Super Bowls. So as controversial as that was at the time, he was right from the Chiefs' standpoint that they could lose him, absorb that loss, and still be a contender. Why would he trade for a worse player 2 years later for a similar cost probably in terms of trade and then pay him Tyreek Hill money when he's not Tyreek Hill, when you've proven you don't need Tyreek Hill to win Super Bowls? Like, that would just go against what he's done from a roster construction standpoint. So I don't think the Niners would want to ship him here. I don't think Brett Veach would want to bring him here, even though they had wide receiver issues last year. Despite that, they still overcame it and won the Super Bowl, and they've made some moves to help this unit with Xavier Worthy, Marquise Brown, Rashee Rice came on late last year. So at the end of the day, I do not expect this to happen. And when you look at some of the Chiefs' top needs right now, again, I'm going to keep hammering it home. Left tackle, you got to figure something out there. I mean, hopefully Wanya Morris or Kingsley Suamataia can hold that ship down. I lack confidence that they will, but I'd love to be proven wrong. You could certainly add another pass rusher as Charles Omenihu continues to rehab his ACL surgery. He's about 4.5 months recovered from that, so he's still a few months away at least. Defensive tackle, if you want to beef up that unit, you could certainly do that as well. So, Aiyuk, would it be fun? Would it be an addition? Would it help? No question. But when you're looking at the big picture of how do you put pieces on this team together and allocate resources on the salary cap, you've proven that you don't need the $30 million receiver to win at a high level. So why would you do it now? Just because it would be fun? I don't think. I think it helps you this year a ton. In the long term, I think it actually hurts you because you're going to lose players in other key areas that you would normally be able to add. Because you think of the Tyreek Hill trade, again, just to mention that, you got Trent McDuffie out of that deal, one of the best corners. It kind of led you to drafting George Karlaftis as well. Like, the impact of that and just the cap flexibility to spend elsewhere was massive. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. I think there's a decent chance Aiyuk does get dealt, but I don't think it'll be to Kansas City. If you want Brandon Aiyuk to be here, spam BA. Listen, I certainly would understand if you did. He's a hell of a player. He would instantly be this team's best receiver, and in the short term, it would be awesome, but then you're having to pay him $30+ million per year, and you're losing pieces elsewhere. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. All right, let's get to Patrick Mahomes now as he spoke at training camp yesterday. The boys are actually practicing this morning right now. Those, at least the players that are already out there, quarterbacks and rookies. Mahomes had this to say about last year's team, which I thought was pretty interesting. Quote, the end result was awesome, but I think a lot of us have a weird feeling. I mean, we didn't really play football the way we wanted to play all year long. It wasn't fun every single week having to try to continue to get better and better, and the results weren't paying off the way you wanted to. It wasn't a lot of fun. And you could see that frustration boil from Mahomes. I mean, he's a pretty, don't get me wrong, he's fiery and competitive as hell. If you watch that quarterback documentary last year, you saw that. But it got close to unraveling. I mean, the way he handled that Buffalo situation last year where Kadarius Toney lined up off sides and he kind of lost his cool at the end of that game and whatnot, that was unique from Mahomes. You could see the frustration boiling. Again, the end result was the same. You won the Super Bowl, but it's kind of highway robbery. Like, the Chiefs were not the best team in football last year. The best team doesn't always win the Super Bowl, but I think they know, like, hey, like, if we play like that again over the course of a season, chances are we'll get beat. Like, that's just the way that's likely going to go. So they've retooled a little bit. The numbers were clear year over year. Like, they took a step back. Now, luckily the defense got better last year. In the playoffs, Mahomes and the guys made plays and they had to. We talked about that yesterday. But you want to get closer to 2022. I don't know if you're going to get quite there. That was a very, very good offense. But if you can get somewhere in between and this defense continues to ball, then I think you're going to be in a good position. And, you know, getting Marquise Brown in here, I think he's a good fit for Patrick Mahomes. You add Xavier Worthy in the draft. I like that as well. Again, I still have concerns about left tackle, but the rest of the offensive line is in good position. So I do think the offense will get back to being a better unit this year. And speaking of Xavier Worthy, Mahomes had this to say about him. He said, look, there's no easing him in. He's going to have to be ready to go. We got a lot of competition on this offense. And obviously he missed most of OTAs with that hamstring injury. But listen, for rookies, training camp is huge. There's no doubt about it, especially a guy like Worthy who's expected to come in and play a role right away. Now, I saw a tweet right before we hopped on, their little practice this morning. He's out there full go, no issues with the hamstring, so that's a good sign. And, let's see how he progresses throughout the summer leading into the preseason and into the regular season. And you want him to hit the ground running because ideally he's one of your top 3 receivers this year. On paper, I think he is, but he's got to go out there and prove it. And if he's not ready for that, then, after Rashee Rice and Marquise Brown, you have question marks. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. You guys going to training camp this year? Y for yes, N for no. Going out to St. Joseph? Let me know if you are. Always curious to see which part of Chiefs Kingdom is going to head out there. Let me know in the comment section below. And then a little bit of news before we get out of here. The Chiefs are signing former Slippery Rock wide receiver. Name that mascot if you know it. Kyle Sheets, per source. He signed with New Orleans as a UDFA earlier in the process, got cut. Now he comes to Kansas City. You look at his bio, 6'4", 220. Big numbers last year for Slippery Rock. I think, look, he's not going to make the 53, but I think what he does provide is things in practice. Different type of build of a receiver compared to the rest of this group. So, you can put him out there as your first-team defense wants to go up against big receivers in practice. I like how he's not just another 5'10", 6-foot speedster. Like, it's a different look. So he can help you in practice. Maybe he pushes for a practice squad spot. So certainly don't have a problem with this addition, but is it a needle mover for the 53 for the actual regular season? Probably not at the end of the day. All right, we're going to get out of here. One more reminder that we do have a mailbag episode coming up. So if you do have those questions, #Chiefs, ask away in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more episodes, and we'll see you next time.